Hi guys, let's start ABHYAAS Test 4 UPSC Prelims 2020 from VISION IAS. Now let's come to the first question. So the first question is, in the wake of the recent COVID outbreak, plasma donation by the recovered patients is seen as its potential cure. Which of the following statements are correct regarding plasma? Number 1. Plasma is the largest part of blood making. So plasma is the largest part of blood, making it more than half of its overall content. Number 2. It contains proteins and antibodies which are used to cure rare chronic disease conditions. Number 3. The plasma of people with O positive blood type is universally acceptable. Now, select the correct answer using the code given below. The correct answer is A. That is 1 and 2 only. So statements 1 and 2 are correct. Plasma is the largest part of our blood. It makes up more than half, about 55% of its overall content. When separated from the rest of the blood, plasma is a light yellow liquid. Plasma carries water, salts, and enzymes. Hence, statement 1 is correct. The main role of plasma is to take nutrients, hormones, and proteins to the parts of the body that need it. Cells also put their waste products into the plasma. The plasma then helps remove this waste from the body. Blood plasma also carries all parts of the blood through your circulatory system. Along with water, salt, and enzymes, plasma also contains important components. These include antibodies, clotting factors, and the proteins albumin and fibrinogen. When you donate blood, healthcare providers can separate these vital parts from your plasma. These parts can then be concentrated into various products. These products are then used as treatments that can help save the lives of people suffering from burns, shock, trauma, and other medical emergencies. The proteins and antibodies in plasma are also used in therapies for rare chronic conditions. These include autoimmune disorders and hemophilia. People with these conditions can live long and productive lives because of the treatments. In fact, some health organizations call plasma the gift of life. Hence, statement 2 is correct. During the actual blood donation process, your blood is drawn through a needle placed in a vein in one arm. A special machine separates the plasma and often the platelets from your blood sample. This process is called plasmapheresis. The remaining red blood cells and other blood components are then returned to your body, along with a little saline, that is salt solution. People with AB type blood, positive or negative, are universal plasma donors. Antigens present in AB positive also play a vital role in plasma donations. While AB positive blood has both A and B antigens on the red blood cells, neither of the antigens are present in the plasma. This makes AB positive the universal plasma donor, meaning that AB positive plasma can be transferred into patients who have any other ABO blood type. Hence, statement 3 is not correct. Now let's come to next question, that is question number 2. The Sarkaria Commission report details the options before the governor in the situation where no single party has obtained an absolute majority. The order of preference for the governor in such case is statement number 1, a post-electoral coalition of parties with all the partners joining the government. Number 2, the single largest parties taking a claim to form the government with the support of others including independents. Number 3, a post-electoral alliance of parties with some parties joining the government and the remaining supporting the government from outside. Number 4, an alliance of parties that was formed prior to the selections. Select the correct answer using the code given below. The correct answer is D. The correct answer is D. That is 4, 2, 1 and then 3. So the order of preference for the governor in such a case is. So the order of preference would be, the first one would be 4, then it would be 2, then 1, then last will be 3. There are no specific guidelines in the Constitution on what the governor should do or whom he or she should invite in case there is a face-off between parties or coalition allies. In this matter, the Sarkaria Commission recommendations, which were affirmed by a constitution bench of the Supreme Court in Rameshwar Prasad versus Union of India in 2005, are often the guiding principle and are the main reference point. The mandate is outlined in the Commission recommendations. The Commission report details the options before the governor in a situation where no single party has obtained an absolute majority. The order of preference for the governor in such case is number 1, an alliance of parties that was formed prior to the elections. Number 2, the single largest parties taking a claim to form the government with the support of others, including independents. Number 3, a post-electoral coalition of parties with all the partners in the coalition joining the government. Number 4, a post-electoral alliance of parties with some of the parties in the alliance forming a government and the remaining parties, including independents, supporting the government from outside. Sarkaria Commission was set up in June 1983 to examine the relationship and balance of power between state and central governments and suggest changes within the framework of the Constitution. However, the discretionary powers of the governor offer him or her vast liberty in actions. According to the Constitution, the decision of the governor is final and the validity of anything done by him as a matter of his discretion cannot be questioned. Hence, option D is the correct answer. Question number 3. With reference to National Digital Health Mission, consider the following statements. Statement 1. It aims to digitize the health infrastructure in India by making a unique health ID mandatory for every citizen. Number 2, it will be implemented by the National Health Authority, that is NHA. Which of the statements given above? So, which of the statements given above is or are correct? The correct answer is B. That is 2 only. So, only statement 2 is correct. The National Digital Health Mission, that is NDHM, is a holistic voluntary healthcare program that will reduce the existing gap between various stakeholders such as doctors, hospitals, and other healthcare providers, pharmacies, insurance companies, and citizens by bringing them together and connecting them in integrated digital health infrastructure. It is a major stride towards the achievement of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 3.8 of universal health coverage, including financial risk protection. Hence, statement 1 is not correct. And NDHM, that is National Digital Health Mission, NDHM has the following components. Number 1, Health ID, HID. The the NDHM envisages creating a national health ID for every Indian. Every patient who wishes to have their health records available digitally must start by creating a health ID. Number 2, Patient Health Record, PHR. A PHR is an electronic record of health related information on an individual that conforms to nationally recognized interoperability standards. Number 3, Electronic Medical Record, EMR, web app. And EMR is best understood as a digital version of a patient's chart. It contains the patient's medical and treatment history from a single health facility. Number 4, DigiDoctor platform, that is Doctors Directory, a single updated repository of all doctors enrolled in the nation with all the relevant details of the doctors. Number 5, Health Facility Registry. The Health Facility Registry is a single repository of all the health facilities in the country. National Health Authority, that is NHA. The attached office of the attached office of the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare has been given the mandate by the Government of India to design, build, roll out and implement the NDHM in the country. Hence statement 2 is correct. And HA is governed by a governing board chaired by the Union Minister for Health and Family Welfare. It is headed by a Chief Executive Officer CEO and officer of the rank of Secretary to the Government of India who manages its affairs. The CEO is the ex office member secretary of the governing body of the governing board. So the correct answer is B, that is 2 only. Now let's come to next question, that is question number 4. The RBI has permitted authorized card payment networks to offer card tokenization services. In this context, consider the following statements regarding tokenization. Statement 1. It involves the use of a unique token instead of actual card details while performing card transactions at the point of sale, that is POS terminals. Statement 2. It does away with the need for additional factor of authentication, that is AFA or PIN entry while performing tokenized card transactions. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? So the correct answer is A, that is 1 only. So only statement 1 is correct. The Reserve Bank of India, that is the RBI, decided to permit authorized card payment networks to offer card tokenization services to any token requester. Third third-party app provider for debit, credit, or prepaid card transactions. Tokenization involves a process in which a unique token masks sensitive card details. Thereafter, in lieu of actual card details, this token is used to perform card transactions in a contactless mode at point of sale, that is POS terminals, and quick response, that is QR code payments, among others. Hence, statement 1 is correct. In its guidelines on tokenization for debit or credit or prepaid card transactions, the RBI said tokenization and detokenization can be performed only by the authorized card network, such as RuPay, MasterCard, Visa, American Express, and Diners Club, and recovery of original primary account number, that is PAN, should be feasible for the network only. A cardholder may use these services by registering the card on the token requester's app only with explicit customer consent through AFA, that is additional factor authentication, and not by way of a forced or default or automatic selection of checkbox or radio button. No charges can be recovered from the customer for availing the service. All extant instructions of the RBI on safety and security of card transactions, including a mandate for additional factor of authentication, AFA or PIN entry, will also be applicable for tokenized card transactions. Hence, statement 2 is not correct. Now let's come to the next statement. That is next question, that is question number 5. If you are traveling from north to south, in which of the following order are you likely to visit the following islands of the Indian Ocean? Number 1, Maldives. Number 2, Seychelles. Number 3, Socotra. Number 4, Reunion Islands. Select the correct answer using the code given below. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is A. That is, the first one would be 3. Socotra. Next would be 1. Then next we have 2. That is Seychelles. Then the last one, it would be the Reunion Islands. So, Socotra Archipelago in the northwest Indian Ocean near the Gulf of Aden, located between Somalia and Yemen. It is 250 km long and comprises 4 islands and 2 rocky islets, which appear as a prolongation of the Horn of Africa. The site is of universal importance because of its biodiversity with rich and distinct flora and fauna. 37% of Socotra's 825 plant species, 90% of its reptile species, and 95% of its land snail species do not occur anywhere else in the world. Next, we have the Maldives. Maldives is an island country in the Arabian Sea of the Indian Ocean. Located south-southwest of India, it lies southwest of Sri Lanka and India. It consists of approximately 1,190 coral islands grouped in a double chain of 26 atolls. Composed of live coral reefs and sandbars, the atolls are situated atop of Chagos Lakshadweep Ridge. The strategic relations with the Maldives are crucial for India to counter China's naval presence in the region. Next, we have Seychelles. It is an island republic in the western Indian Ocean comprising about 115 islands, situated between latitudes 4° and 11° south. The major islands of Seychelles are located about east of Kenya and about 1,100 km northeast of Madagascar. India and Seychelles have close defense and economic ties. Next, we have the last one, we have the Reunion Islands. It is an overseas department and region of the French Republic and an island in the Mascarene Islands of the Indian Ocean. It is located east of Madagascar and southwest of Mauritius. It is of volcanic origin. Reunion Islands consist mostly of rugged mountains in an advanced state of dissection by short torrential rivers. Hence, option A is the correct answer. So the first one, it would be Socotra, then next is Maldives, next is Seychelles, and the last would be Reunion Islands. Question number 6. Fugitive emissions, a term which is sometimes seen in the news, are number A. Natural emissions caused in active volcanoes. Number B. Unintended leakages of gases from industrial activities. Number C. Release of greenhouse gases from natural habitats such as swamps and marshes. Number D. Sum total of all greenhouse gases released due to anthropogenic reasons. So the correct answer is B. The correct answer is B, that is unintended leakages of gases from industrial activities. Recently, the National Green Tribunal has held 4 companies including BPCL and HPCL responsible for creating a gas chamber-like condition in Mahul, Ambapada and Jambur areas in Mumbai and directed them to pay rupees 286.2 crore for the damage caused to the environment. Fugitive emissions are emissions of gases or vapors from pressurized equipment due to leaks and other unintended or irregular releases of gases, mostly from industrial activities, as well as the economic cost of lost commodities. Fugitive emissions contribute to air pollution. Fugitive emissions are accidental emissions of vapors or gases from pressurized apparatus, either due to faulty equipment, leakage, or other unforeseen mishaps. It can also occur through evaporation in such sources as storage tanks or wastewater treatment facilities. Hence, the correct answer is B. Now let's come to question number 7. In the context of the Nehru Report and Simon Commission Report, which of the following statements is or are correct? Statement 1. The Nehru Report provided only for the reservation of seats. The Simon Report retained the provisions of separate electorate. Number 2. The Nehru Report remained silent on the adult franchise, whereas the Simon Report recommended it. Number 3. The Nehru Report provided for the fundamental rights of the citizen and a Supreme Court. The Simon Report was silent on both. Select the correct answer using the code given below. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is, okay, The correct answer is C, that is 1 and 3 only. So, the correct statements are 1, that is the Nehru report provided only for the reservation of seats. The Simon report retained the provisions of separate electorate. Number 3, the Nehru report provided for the fundamental rights of the citizen and a Supreme Court. The Simon report was silent on both. Nehru and Simon Commission report compared. The Nehru report accepted dominion status and responsible government. The Simon report recommended an irresponsible center but limited responsible government at the provincial level. The Nehru report accepted adult franchise. It also rejected the principle of separate communal electorates on which previous constitutional reforms had been based. Seats would be reserved for Muslims at the center and in provinces in which they were in a minority, but not in those where they had a numerical majority. The Simon report retained the provisions of separate electorate. Hence, statement 1 is correct. The Nehru report also recommended universal adult suffrage, equal rights for women, freedom to form unions, and dissociation of the state from religion in any form. The Simon report rejected the adult franchise. Hence, statement 2 is not correct. The Nehru report provided for the fundamental rights of the citizen and a Supreme Court. The Simon report was silent on both. Hence, statement 3 is correct. Now let's come to next question, that is question number 8. Consider the following statements with reference to the Narcotics Control Bureau, that is NCB. Statement 1. NCB functions under the Ministry of Home Affairs. Number 2. It supervises legal cultivation of opium poppy and issues licenses for the manufacture of synthetic narcotic drugs. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? So correct answer is A, that is 1 only. So only statement 1 is correct. The Narcotics Control Bureau, that is NCB, was set up as an apex drug law enforcement agency with a view to coordinate actions of various central or state agencies in the matters related to drug law in the country. As India is a signatory to various international drug-related UN conventions, example, Convention on Narcotic Drugs 1961 and the United Nations Convention Against Illicit Traffic in Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances 1988. The responsibility of implementation of the provision of these internationally conventions also lies with NCB. It functions under the Ministry of Home Affairs, hence statement 1 is correct. The Government of India constituted the Narcotics Control Bureau on the 17th of March 1986. The responsibilities of the NCB are as follows. Number 1. Coordination of actions by various offices, state governments and other authorities under the NDPS Act, Customs Act, Drugs and Cosmetics Act, and any other law for the time being in force in connection with the enforcement provisions of the NDPS Act 1985. Number 2. Implementation of the obligation in respect of countermeasures against illicit traffic under the various international conventions and protocols that are in force at present or which may be ratified or acceded to by India in future. Number 3. Assistance to concerned authorities in foreign countries and concerned international organizations to facilitate coordination and universal action for prevention and suppression of illicit traffic in these drugs and substances. Number 4. Coordination of actions taken by the other concerned ministries, departments, and organizations in respect of matters relating to drug abuse. There is another body called the Central Bureau of Narcotics, that is CBN, which is not to be confused with NCB, which supervises over licit, that is legal, cultivation of opium poppy in India and issues licenses for the manufacture of synthetic narcotic drugs. Hence, statement 2 is not correct. Central Bureau of Narcotics, that is CBN, is affiliated with India's Department of Revenue, that is IRS, and regulated by the country's Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs. India is a signatory to the UN Convention on Narcotic Drugs 1961, UN Convention on Psychotropic Substances 1971, and UN Convention Against the Illicit Traffic in Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances 1988, which obligates member countries to monitor the implementation of the United Nations Drug Control Conventions. CBN interacts with the International Narcotics Control Board, Vienna, and the competent authorities of other countries to verify genesis of the transaction. Okay, so CBN interacts with the International Narcotics Control Board, Vienna, and the competent authorities of other countries to verify genuineness of the transaction prior to authorizing. So they're going to verify its genuineness of the transaction prior to authorizing the shipments. India is the only country authorized by the United Nations Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs 1961 to produce gum opium. Now let's come to next question, that is question number 9. One of the key objectives of IUCN is to share the knowledge of conservation databases and tools to advance conservation in a variety of areas. Which of the following are the conservation tools created by IUCN? Number 1, Red List of Ecosystems. Number 2, Red List of Threatened Species. Number 3, World Database of Key Biodiversity Areas. KBAs. Number 4, Biodiversity Heritage Sites. Number 5, World Heritage Outlook. Select the correct answer using the code given below. So the correct answer is B. That is 1, 2, 3, and 5. IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature, was established on 5th October 1948. Since its establishment in 1948, IUCN has become the global authority on the status of the natural world and the measures needed to safeguard it. One of IUCN's key objectives is to share the knowledge gathered by its unique global community of 10,000 plus scientists. IUCN's knowledge products consist of conservation databases and tools which have already proved helpful to hundreds of organizations. The knowledge and the tool IUCN provides are critical for ensuring that human progress, economic development, and nature conservation take place together. The conservation databases and tools created by IUCN include: number 1, the IUCN Red List of Threatened Species. It is the world's most comprehensive inventory of the global conservation status of plant and animal species. It uses a set of quantitative criteria to evaluate the extinction risk of thousands of species. These criteria are relevant to most species and all regions of the world. With its strong scientific base, the IUCN Red List is recognized as the most authoritative guide to the status of biological diversity. Number 2, IUCN Red List of Ecosystems. It is a global standard for how we assess the conservation status of ecosystems. It is applicable at local, national, regional, and global levels. It is based on a set of rules or criteria for performing evidence-based scientific assessments of the risk of ecosystem collapse as measured by reductions by geographical distribution or degradation of the key processes and components of ecosystems. Next, we have the World Database of Key Biodiversity Areas. It hosts data on key biodiversity areas, that is KBAs. These databases can support strategic decisions on protected area by governments or civil society towards achieving IUCN biodiversity targets. It also guides the identification of sites under international conventions and in the setting of private sector policies and standards. The database is managed by the KBA Partnership, which comprises 13 partners, and it's served by the KBA Secretariat, hosted jointly by BirdLife International and IUCN. The criteria for designating a site as KBA have been described in the document The Global Standard for the Identification of Key Biodiversity Areas 2016 by International Union for Conservation of Nature, that is IUCN. IUCN identifies 531 KBA sites in India. Next, we have IUCN's World Heritage Outlook. It is the first global assessment of natural world heritage. By assessing every natural site on the World Heritage List, it recognizes success and supports the role of these sites in demonstrating excellence. It identifies the actions needed to support sites that are facing threats to improve their conservation outlook. It also highlights the benefits that these sites provide to people and projects supporting these exceptional places. Next, we have under Section 37 of the Biological Diversity Act 2002, that is BDA, the state government in consultation with local bodies may notify areas of biodiversity importance as biodiversity heritage sites, that is BHS. Biodiversity heritage sites, that is BHS, are well-defined areas that are unique, ecologically fragile ecosystems. Hence, option B is the correct answer. Now let's come to question number 10. Standards and quality of drinking water supply in India are prescribed by number A, Bureau of Indian Standards, number B, Central Water Commission, number C, Central Groundwater Board, number D, Department of Water Resources, River Development and Ganga Rejuvenation. The correct answer is A, that is Bureau of Indian Standards, that is BIS. Recently, the Bureau of Indian Standards, that is BIS, has prepared a draft standard for the supply system of piped drinking water and has invited comments from water utilities. Labeled Drinking Water Supply Quality Management System. Requirements for piped drinking water supply service. The draft has been prepared by the BIS Public Drinking Water Supply Services Sectional Committee. Hence, option A is the correct answer. It outlines the process of water supply from raw water sources to household taps and has been developed keeping in view the center's Jal Jeevan mission for providing safe and adequate drinking water to all rural households by 2024 through tap connections. The standard holds importance as it is expected to make the process of piped water supply more uniform, especially in rural and underdeveloped areas of the country where the system runs on various government orders and circulars. At present, the standard is not expected to be made mandatory. After the draft is notified, states or water utilities planning to implement the standard can approach BIS for a license. So the correct answer is A, that is Bureau of Indian Standards. Question number 11. Which of the following was or were the probable similarities between the Indus Valley civilization and the contemporary Mesopotamian civilization? Statement 1. They both constructed granaries. Number 2. They both worshipped the fertility goddess. Select the correct answer using the code given below. So the correct answer is C. That is, both 1 and 2 are correct. So both the statements are correct. The Indus Valley and the Mesopotamia, the two cradles of civilization, though separated by great distance, had some similarities in various aspects. Like the Mesopotamian cities, wages were paid in barley. The typical Mesopotamian city was built around the temple, a monumental structure sitting at the center of a complex of granaries, storehouses, and other administrative buildings. Similarly, the huge granaries found at Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, and Kalibangan implies that probably they received cereals as taxes from peasants and stored in granaries for payment of wages as well as for use during emergencies. Hence, statement 1 is correct. The contemporary cities in Mesopotamia produced almost the same food grains and domesticated the same animals as the Indus people did. But the Indus people produced rice in Gujarat, that is Lothal, where its remains belonging to 1800 BCE have been found. Rice began to be cultivated in the rice began to be cultivated in the Mesopotamian region way later in 1st century BCE. Also, the Harappan people domesticated elephants, which was not the case with the Mesopotamian. In the Indus Valley region, a terracotta figure of a woman in which a plant is shown growing out of the embryo has been found, which is probably represented as the goddess of earth, and thus people looked upon the earth as a fertility goddess. Similarly, in ancient Mesopotamia, Inanna was worshipped as the goddess of love, sensuality, fertility, procreation, and also of war. Hence, statement 2 is correct. Now, let's come to question number 12. According to FAO, around 40% of invertebrate pollinator species, particularly bees and butterflies face extinction across the world. In this context, which of the following are causes for the decline in the number of pollinators? Number 1, increasing use of neonitic, uh, neonicotinoids. Number 2, change in the cropping pattern. Number 3, high environmental pollution from heavy metals. Number 4, growth of invasive alien species. Select the correct answer using the code given below. The correct answer is D. That is 1, 2, 3 and 4. So all of them are correct. Number 1, increasing use of neonicotinoids. Number 2, change in the cropping pattern. Number 3, high environmental pollution from heavy metals. Number 4, growth of invasive alien species. More than 180,000 plant species, including 1,200 crop species across the world, depend on pollinators to reproduce. But the little creatures like the bees and the butterflies have increasingly been under threat. There are two categories of pollinators, invertebrates and vertebrates. Well-known invertebrate pollinators include bees, moths, flies, wasps, beetles, and butterflies. Around 40% of invertebrate pollinator species, particularly bees and butterflies, face extinction across the world, according to the FAO. In India, wild honeybees of the genus Apis, including the Asian bee, Carana, including the Asian bee, A. cirana, and the little bee, A. florea, declined steadily for the past 30 years. There are several causes for the decline in the number of pollinators. Most of them are the result of an increase in human activities. Global warming causes flowers to bloom earlier or later than usual. When pollinators come out of hibernation, the flowers that provide the food they need to start the season has already bloomed. It's not that the pesticides which are aimed at other insects are killing the bees outright. Rather, the sublethal exposure of pesticides in nectar and pollen may be interfering with the honeybees' internal radar, preventing them from gathering pollen and returning safely to the hive. Neonicotinoids are a new class of insecticides, chemically related to nicotines. They are much more toxic to invertebrates. Bees absorbing metal pollution from flowers that absorb it from the soil that absorbed it from modern machines and vehicles. Change in the cropping pattern and crops, like the cultivation of genetically modified organisms, GMOs, and monocropping has also led to a decline in the bee population. Biological invasions of alien species result in habitat change, loss and fragmentation of the native species, a key ecosystem service that has the potential to be interrupted by the arrival of novel species is pollination. Threat to wild bees have been more widely studied than impacts on other pollinators taxa. Habitat change, loss and fragmentation associated with agricultural intensification are thought to pose the main risk to native bees. Hence, all the above are the causes for decline in the number of pollinators. Now let's come to the next question, that is question number 13. With reference to the foreign exchange, that is the forex reserves of India, which of the statements Which of the following statements is or are correct? Number 1. Currently, India has the second highest forex reserves in the world after China. Number 2. The value of India's forex reserves has recently crossed the 500 billion mark. $500 billion mark. Number 3. After foreign currency assets, gold accounts for the highest share in the forex. Select the correct answer using the code given below. So the correct answer is C, that is 2 and 3 only. So statements 2 and 3 are correct. The value of India's forex reserves has recently crossed the $500 billion mark, and after foreign currency assets, gold accounts for the highest share in the forex. India's forex, that is foreign exchange reserves, comprise foreign currency assets, that is FCAs, gold reserves, special drawing rights, that is SDRs, and the country's reserve position with the International Monetary Fund, that is IMF. On the weekly basis, FCAs, the largest component of the forest reserves, followed by gold. Hence, statement 3 is correct. As of August 28, 2020, the value of foreign exchange reserves is $541 billion. The forex value crossed the 500 billion mark recently in June 2020. Hence, statement 2 is correct. Although India has one of the highest forex reserves in the world, it is still lower than that of China, who has $5.5 trillion. Japan, who has $1.4 trillion, Switzerland $930 billion, and Russia $590 billion. Thus, India does not have the second highest forex reserves. Hence, statement 1 is not correct. So, only statement 2 and 3 are correct. Now, let's come to question number 14. According to the Constitution of India, it is the duty of the President of India to cause to be laid before the Parliament which of the following? Number 1, the report of the Election Commission of India. Number 2, the report of the Union Public Service Commission. Number 3, the report of the Committee on Public Accounts. Number 4, the report of the Goods and Services Tax Council. Select the correct answer using the code given below. The correct answer is B. The correct answer is B, that is 2 only. So only statement 2 is correct. That is the report of the Union Public Service Commission. The President is an integral part of the Parliament. It is his power and duty to cause certain reports and statements to be laid before Parliament. The following reports are laid by the President in the Parliament. Number 1, Annual Financial Statement, that is the budget. Number 2, Report of Comptroller and Auditor General of India. Number 3, Recommendations made about the Finance Commission. Number 4, Report of the Union Public Service Commission. Number 5, Report of National Commission for Report of National Commission of SCs and STs. Number 6, Report of the Special Officer of Linguistic Minorities. Number 7, Report of the Commission on Backward Classes. The chairman of the Committee of Public Accounts submit its report to the Speaker of Lok Sabha. The Speaker of Lok Sabha then tables the report in the Parliament. Reports of the Election Commission and Goods and Services Tax Council are not laid by President before Parliament. Hence, option B is the correct answer. Now let's come to question number 15. Which of the following is not correct with reference to hope spots? Number A. These are areas of an ocean that are critical to its health and needs special protection. Number B. These are declared by International Union for Conservation of Nature IUCN along with Mission Blue. Number C. These sites have the potential to reverse damage from negative human impacts. Number D. Lakshadweep Islands is the only place in India to have been declared a hot spot. So the correct answer is D. The correct answer is D. That is, Lakshadweep Islands is the only place in India to have been declared as hot spot. A hot spot is an area of an ocean that needs special protection because of its wildlife and it's critical to the health of the ocean. While about 12% of the land around the world is now under some form of protection as national parks, etc., less than 5% of the ocean is protected in any way. Hot spots allow us to plan for the future and look beyond current marine protected areas, that is MPAs. Hot spots are often areas that need new protection, but they can also be existing MPAs, that is marine protected areas, where more action is needed. They can be large, they can be small, but they all provide hope due to number 1, a special abundance of diversity of species, unusual or representative species, habitats or ecosystems. Number 2, particular populations of rare, threatened or endemic species. Number 3, a site with potential to reserve damage from negative human impacts. Number 4, spectacles of nature, example major migration corridors or spawning grounds. Number 5, significant historical, cultural or spiritual values. Number 6, particular economic importance to the community. International Union for Conservation of Nature IUCN and Mission Blue, and organization involved in the study of oceans recognize global hotspots with significant wildlife and underwater habitats. In India, Andaman and Nicobar Islands and Lakshadweep Islands have recently been named as the new hotspots by the International Union for Conservation of Nature, that is IUCN, and Mission Blue. Hence, option D is not correct. So we have to choose the not correct option, and D is the not correct option. Question number 16. It is one of the world's hottest places as well as one of the lowest, that is 100 meters below sea level, situated in the northeast Ethiopia, at the northern end of the Great Rift Valley and separated by live volcanoes from the Red Sea. The plain was formed by the evaporation of an inland water body. A new study has recently pointed out that at this place no active and naturally occurring life can sustain itself. The above passage refers to which of the following geological depressions? Number A, Katara. Number B, Karagia. Number C, Danakil. Number D, Turfan. So the correct answer is C. That is Danakil. Danakil Depression. It is located in northeast Ethiopia at the northern end of the Great Rift Valley and separated by live volcanoes from the Red Sea. Danakil is one of the world's lowest places at 100 meters below sea level. Hence, option C is the correct answer. The Danakil Depression is the northern part of the Afar Triangle, a geological depression caused by the Afar triple junction, a place where three tectonic plates join. The depression overlaps the borders of Eritrea, Djibouti, and the entire Afar region of Ethiopia. The plain was formed by the evaporation of an inland water body. All the water entering the Nakil evaporates and no stream flows out from its extreme environment. It is covered with more than 10 lakh tons of salt. A recent study stated that an active and naturally occurring life cannot be sustained at the Nakil in Ethiopia. This life cannot be sustained due to number 1, magnesium dominated brines that cause cells to break down. Number 2, an environment having simultaneously very low pH and high salt, a combination that makes adaptation highly difficult. Now let's come to Karagia Depression. It is a unique and original site in the northwest of Kazakhstan. The name got translated into Kazakh as a black hollow. Even though it is not black color, but with dominating yellow and white, it is considered as one of the lowest points in the earth. It reaches 132 meters beneath the sea level. Next, we have the Karagia Depression. It is a large, low-lying area in the desert of northwest Egypt. Its lowest point is 133 meters below sea level. If the depression were flooded to sea level, the lake formed would cover nearly 20,000 kilometers square, comparable to Lake Ontario. So it will be comparable to Lake Ontario. It would come within 55 kilometers of the Mediterranean coast of Egypt near Al Alamein. Now next we have Terrafon Depression. It is 154 meters below sea level, approximate and fluctuating, located in China. The Terrafon Basin is a below sea level area in the Xinjiang Autonomous Region of Western China. The lowest part of the basin is occupied by Edingol Lake. The area is very hot and very dry. It is referred to as one of the furnaces of China, and the potential for evaporation far exceeds the amount of annual precipitation. So for question number 16, the correct answer is C, that is Danakil. Next we have question number 17. Recently, BIMSTEC finalized its charter after 23 years. In this context, consider the following statements regarding BIMSTEC. Number 1, it is a regional organization comprising member states only sharing boundaries with the Bay of Bengal. Number 2, Indonesia and Malaysia are the only two member countries from Southeast Asia. Number 3, it seeks to promote trade and investment within BIMSTEC member countries. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? The correct answer is A. That is 3 only. So only the third statement is correct. Statement 1 is not correct. The Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation, that is BIMSTEC, is a regional organization comprising 7 member states lying in the littoral as well as adjacent areas of the Bay of Bengal, constituting a contiguous regional unity. The BIMSTEC region comprises the countries surrounding the Bay of Bengal and 2 landlocked countries, that is Nepal and Bhutan. BIMSTEC was initially set up by Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka and Thailand in 1997. Myanmar joined later that year and Bhutan and Nepal in 2004. Statement 2 is not correct. This sub-regional organization came into being on 6 June 1997 through the Bangkok Declaration. It constitutes 7 member states, 5 deriving from South Asia, including Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and 2 from Southeast Asia, including Myanmar and Thailand. Statement 3 is correct. There are 15 priority areas of cooperation for BIMSTEC members. They include trade and investment, transport and communication, energy, tourism, technology, fisheries, agriculture, public health, poverty alleviation, counter-terrorism, and it would be poverty alleviation, counter-terrorism and transnational crime, environment and disaster management, people to people contact, cultural cooperation, and climate change. BIMSTEC member countries agreed to establish the BIMSTEC Free Trade Area Framework Agreement in order to stimulate trade and investment in the parties and attract outsiders to trade with and invest in BIMSTEC at a higher level. All members except Bangladesh, because of the domestic procedure, became signatories to the framework agreement in the 6th ministerial meeting, as witnessed by the Prime Minister of Thailand and BIMSTEC's foreign ministers. Bangladesh later joined the framework agreement on 25 June 2004. However, the members still need to finalize various modalities for operationalizing free trade agreement among BIMSTEC nations. So the correct answer is A, that is 3 only. Now let's come to the next question, that is question number 18. Which of the following was or were the recommendations of the Cabinet Mission 1946? Number 1. It proposed for a union of India with a strong central government. Number 2. The princely states were allowed to retain powers to legislate on all subjects, including the residuary powers. Number 3. It recognized the India's right to cede from the Commonwealth. Select the correct answer using the code given below. The correct answer is C, that is 3 only. So only statement 3 is correct. The Cabinet Mission came to India aimed to discuss the transfer of powers from the British government to the Indian leadership, with the aim of preserving India's unity and granting its independence. Formulated at the initiative of Clement Attlee. So it's formulated at the initiative of Clement Attlee, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. The mission had Lord Patrick Lawrence, the Secretary of State for India, Sir Stafford Cripps, President of the Board of Trade, and A.V. Alexander, the First Lord of the Admiralty. It recommended that the Constitution should take the following basic form. Number 1. There should be a Union of India embracing both British India and the states, which should deal with the following subjects, that is foreign affairs, defense, and communications, and should have the powers necessary to raise the finances required for the above subjects. Thus, with just 3 subjects with the center, it proposed a weak central government. Hence, statement 1 is not correct. The Union should have an executive and a legislature constituted from British, Indian, and states representatives. Any question raising a major communal issue in the legislature should require for its decision a majority of the representatives present and voting of each of the 2 major communities, as well as majority of all the members present and voting. All subjects other than the Union subjects and all residuary powers should vest in the provinces. Next point. The states will retain all subjects and powers other than those ceded to the Union. Thus, foreign affairs, defense, and communications were excluded from the powers of the princely states. Hence, statement 2 is not correct. Provinces should be free to form groups with executives and legislatures, and each group could determine the 277 provincial subjects to be taken in common. Next point. The constitutions of the Union and of the groups should contain a provision whereby any province could, by a majority vote of its legislative assembly, call for a reconsideration of the terms of the constitution after an initial period of 10 years and at 10 yearly intervals thereafter. The last passage of the Cabinet Mission Statement says, "We hope that the newly independent India may choose to be a member of the British Commonwealth, thus giving official recognition to the Indian right to secede from the Commonwealth." Hence, Statement 3 is correct. Now let's come to next question, that is question number 19. In the context of polity, totalitarianism is best described by number A, a political system in which a single political party forms the government and no other parties are permitted to run candidates for election. Number B, a form of government that seeks to subordinate all aspects of individual life to the authority of the state. Number C, a form of government where total power is concentrated in the hands of a single individual. Number D, a system of government wherein appointments and responsibilities are objectively assigned to individuals based upon their merit. So the correct answer is B. That is, totalitarianism is a form of government that seeks to subordinate all aspects of individual life to the authority of the state. Totalitarianism is a form of government that theoretically permits no individual freedom and that seeks to subordinate all aspects of individual life to the authority of the state. In the broadest sense, totalitarianism is characterized by strong central rule that attempts to control and direct all aspects of individual life through coercion and repression. Hence, option B is the correct answer. Historical examples of such centralized totalitarian rule include the Mauryan dynasty of India from 321 to 185 BCE, the Qin dynasty of China 221 to 207 BCE, and the reign of Julu Jeef Saka from 1816 to 28, Nazi Germany from 1933 to 45, and the Soviet Union during the Stalin era from 1924 to 53, were the first examples of decentralized or popular totalitarianism in which the state achieved overwhelming popular support for its leadership. Totalitarianism is often distinguished from dictatorship, despotism, or tyranny by its supplanting of all political institutions with new ones and its sweeping away of all legal, social, and political traditions. The totalitarian state pursues some spatial goal such as industrialization or conquest to the exclusion of all others. Any dissent is branded evil and internal political differences are not permitted. Because pursuit of the goal is the only ideological foundation for the totalitarian state, achievement of the goal can never be acknowledged. So the correct answer is B. Now let's come to next question, that is question number 20. Which of the following pairs are correctly matched? We have city on one side, and on the other side we have it is situated on the river. Number 1, we have Ayodhya, Ganga. Number 2, Guwahati, Brahmaputra. Number 3, Sambalpur, Mahanadi. Number 4, Kurnul, Paner. Select the correct answer using the code given below. So the correct answer is C. That is 2 and 3 only. So only statements 2 and 3 are correct. So for Guwahati, Brahmaputra, and Sambalpur, Mahanadi. Ayodhya is a city situated on the banks of holy river Saryu. Ayodhya used to be the capital of the ancient Kosala kingdom. It has been regarded as one of the 7 most important pilgrimage sites for Hindus. Hence, pair 1 is not correctly matched. Guwahati is the largest city of the state of Assam and also of the entire northeast region of India. It is situated on the southern banks of the mighty river Brahmaputra. Dotted with ancient temples, Guwahati is also known as the city of temples. Guwahati is particularly famous for its Kamakhya temple, where the famous Ambubachi Mela is also held. Hence, pair 2 is correctly matched. Next, we have Sambalpur. It is a city in the western part of Orissa and is situated on the eastern bank of the Mahanadi River. Sambalpur is the epicenter of culture and commerce in western Orissa. Hence, pair 3 is correctly matched. Next, we have Kurnul. It is a city in the Rayalaseema region of Andhra Pradesh. It is located on the banks of river Tungabhadra. Kurnul is a trade center and a transportation hub with a rail line and major highway linking it to Hyderabad and to Chennai. Recently, it has been declared as judicial capital of Andhra Pradesh. Hence, pair 4 is not correctly matched. So for Ayodhya, it should be Saryu River. Then for Guwahati, it is Brahmaputra. Then Sambalpur, it's Mahanadi. Then for Kurnul, it should be Tungabhadra. Now let's come to next question. That is question number 21. In the context of Indian economy, which of the following measures will most likely reduce the money multiplier? Number A. Reserve Bank of India reduces the priority sector lending targets for banks. Number B. Central government decides to bring down the rates of direct taxes. Number C. Reserve Bank of India reduces its profit share with the central government through the Economic Capital Framework. Number D. Central government puts a limit on the number of bank accounts per individual. The correct answer is D. That is, central government puts a limit on the number of bank accounts per individual. Money multiplier M is the ratio of broad money or money supply, which is equals to MS, to base money, that is MO or M0. That is, M, which is money multiplier, is equals to MS, that is money supply or broad money, by base money. The monetary base or reserve money denoted by M0 was defined by the group as M0 is equals to currency in circulation plus bankers' deposits with the RBI plus other deposits with the RBI. The financial system banks can enhance. Okay, in the financial system, banks can enhance money supply, that is MS, by expanding loans out of the deposits they receive. The deposit received by commercial banks is part of base money, that is M0. But after receiving the deposits, banks create money by expanding loans and check facilities. Here, the banking system as a whole can create additional money impact through deposit acceptance and loan dispersal. The multiple in which the banking system can expand deposits received in the form of base money into broad money is called the money multiplier, represented by M. Every 1 rupee of central bank money, M0 in India, is able to generate around 6 rupees of money supply, that is MS, in the economy. Thus, money multiplier in India is MS by M0, which is equals to 6 approximately. Money multiplier in India is lower than that of Europe but higher than that of the US. In option A, if the priority sector lending targets are reduced, the vertical flow of money, which leads to credit creation from the RBI, is not affected. The reduction in PSL targets is going to increase the scope of lending for other sectors. Thus, money multiplier will not be affected. Hence, option A is not correct. Similarly, option B is not correct as the changes in tax rates affect the consumer purchasing power but not the credit creation process. In the option C, RBI does not print money when it shares its profit with the central government under the economic capital framework. Hence, neither M0 is affected nor the money multiplier is affected. Option D is the correct answer, as it puts a limit on the number of bank accounts by the central government, which is going to affect the banking habits and banking practices of the people. Eventually, the lending capacity of banks will be affected, as now people will have less number of fixed deposit accounts and savings accounts and also loan accounts, which will ultimately affect the money multiplier as money will change hands less frequently between people and banks. The correct answer is D. Question number 22. Consider the following statements regarding the circadian rhythm. Number 1. It is a natural internal process that regulates the sleep-wake cycle. Number 2. Sleep-wake cycle. So it is a natural internal process that regulates the sleep-wake cycle. Number 2. It is controlled by the circulatory system in humans. Number 3, it is also found in plants and microorganisms. Which of the statements given above are correct? The correct answer is C. That is 1 and 3 only. So only statements 1 and 3 are correct. Circadian rhythm. It is a roughly 24-hour cycle in the physiological processes of living beings, including plants, animals, fungi, and cyanobacteria. They are endogenously generated, although they can be modulated by external cues such as sunlight and temperature. These rhythms are important in determining the sleep and feeding patterns of all animals, including human beings. Hence, statements 1 and 3 are correct. There are clear patterns of brain, that is, nervous system, wave activity, hormone production, cell regeneration, and other biological activities linked to this daily cycle. The circadian biological clock is controlled by a part of the brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. So it's called as suprachiasmatic nucleus or SCN. They are a group of cells in the hypothalamus that respond to light and dark signals. From the optic nerve of the eye, light travels to the SCN, signaling the internal clock that it is time to be awake. Hence, statement 2 is not correct. Now let's come to the next question, that is question number 23. In the context of emerging data management technologies, consider the following passage. It is a type of data set that has a triggeringly high number of attributes or features. These data sets could not be easily analyzed by a human brain and need spatial tools like machine learning technologies. It is increasingly being used in face recognition technologies and analyzing genetic data. Which of the following data types is best described in the above passage? The correct answer is D. The correct answer is D. That is high dimensional data. So it's not dark data, it's not metadata, it's not big data, but it is high dimensional data. Data are characteristics or information, usually numerical, that are collected through observation. In a more technical sense, data are a set of values of qualitative or quantitative variables about one or more persons or objects, while a datum is a single value of a single variable. Since the information revolution, data has gained immense significance and so does its storage and processing. There are various classification of data. The first one we have is called high dimensional. It means that the number of dimensions or attributes is staggeringly high, so that it's so high that calculations become extremely difficult. With high dimensional data, the number of features can exceed the number of observations. Dimensionality in statistics refers to how many attributes a dataset has which can be observed. Since our brain processes in 3 dimensions, we cannot entirely process and understand a visualization that involves data with multiple dimensions. For example, healthcare data have vast amounts of variables, example blood pressure, weight, cholesterol level. In an ideal world, this data could be represented in a spreadsheet with one column representing each dimension. However, in practice, analyzing this data according to different requirements involving multiple variables can become extremely cumbersome because many variables are interrelated, like weight and blood pressure. Another example is of microarrays, which measure gene expression, can contain tens of hundreds of samples. Each sample can contain tens of thousands of genes. It being popularized in relation to facial recognition technologies. Due to the massively complex number of contours on a human face, we need new expressions of data that are multifaceted enough to be able to handle computations that are capable of describing all the nuances and individualities that exist across our facial physiogenomics. So, due to the massive, complex number of contours on the human face, we need new expressions of data that are multifaceted enough to be able to handle computations that are capable of describing all the nuances and individualities that exist across our facial physiognomies. It is often used in machine learning datasets, and there are techniques that help reduce the number of dimensions or attributes, like clustering and multidimensional scaling. Hence, option D is the correct answer. Number 2 would be metadata. So, it is a data that explains other data. It contains informative and relevant description about the other data. For example, author name, created date, and file size are some basic document metadata. It is mostly in the processed form. By filtering metadata, it is easier for someone to locate a specific document. Metadata for web pages contain descriptions of the page contents and the keywords linked to the content. Moreover, metadata is also available in images, videos, and spreadsheets. There are various types of metadata like descriptive metadata, structural metadata, administrative metadata, etc. Next, we have big data. It is a large amount of data and it is difficult or not possible to store and process it using traditional database management systems. Big data occurs mostly in unprocessed form and may or may not provide readily available information. Last, we have dark data. It is digital information that is not being used and lies dormant in some form. It is the information asset that an organization collects, processes, and stores in the course of its regular business activity, but generally fails to use for other purposes. So the correct answer is D, that is high dimensional data. Now let's come to the next question, that is question number 24. Consider the following statement with reference to One Sun, One World, One Grid program of India. Number 1, it is a transnational electricity grid supplying solar power to over 100 countries. Number 2, the idea was first floated by India during the Paris Climate Summit. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? The correct answer is A. That is one only. So only statement 1 is correct. The One Sun, One World, One Grid OSOWOG or a transnational electricity grid supplying solar power across the globe. According to the draft plan prepared by the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, the ambitious OSOWOG will connect 140 countries through a common grid that will be used to transfer solar power. Hence, statement 1 is correct. The vision behind the OSOWOG mantra is the sun never sets and is a constant at some geographical location globally at any given point of time. With India at the fulcrum, the solar spectrum can easily be divided into two broad zones, that is Far East, which would include countries like Myanmar, Vietnam, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, and Far West, which would cover the Middle East and the Africa region. The plan is divided into 3 phases. The first phase will connect the Indian grid with the Middle East, South Asia, and Southeast Asian grids to share solar and other renewable energy resources. The second phase will connect the first phase nations with the African pool of renewable sources. The third phase will be the concluding step of global interconnection. The idea was first floated by Honorable PM Narendra Modi in 2018 during the first assembly of the International Solar Alliance, that is ISA. Hence, statement 2 is not correct. Several policy experts cited it as part of India's answer to China's One Belt One Road infrastructure initiative, which retains investment in close to 70 countries. China have initiated infrastructure projects in other countries, which is seen as a sign of asserting supremacy by several policy experts. While India is a partner nation with most trade associations with ISA and OSOWOG, it is planning to take a leadership position. Now let's come to next question, that is question number 25. The Union Budget of India for 2020-21 mentions the creation of National Seed Fund for which of the following purposes? Number A, to provide high quality organic seeds at lower cost to the farmers. Number B, to develop genetically modified varieties of non-food crop seeds in India. Number C, to support ideation and development of early stage startups. Number D, for the storage and maintenance of India's seed vault located at Jangla in Ladakh in the Himalayas. So the correct answer is C. The correct answer is C, that is to support ideation and development of early stage startups. The Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, that is DPIIT, is working on guidelines for a national seed fund that was announced in the budget for 2020-21 to support ideation and development of early stage startups. The Finance Ministry has proposed to provide early life funding, including a seed fund for providing seed fund to startups. Hence, option C is the correct answer. It would help in further strengthening the startup ecosystem in the country. So the correct answer is C. That's all guys. See you in my next video. Bye.